Something really interesting is happening in Classic WoW right now. Season of Discovery's Community Fresh event has packed the starting zones, while at the same time, it feels like more and more players are taking breaks from TBC, jumping into Era, Hardcore, or even looking outside of Blizzard's official games altogether. And I don't think any of this is a coincidence, because after replaying Vanilla, replaying TBC, and potentially replaying Wrath once again, it feels like the Classic community has reached a point where one question keeps coming up. When is Classic Plus actually going to happen? So I think now is the perfect time to be asking that question, because everywhere you look in the Classic community, players seem to be searching for what's next. You've got thousands of players voluntarily creating new characters for the Season of Discovery Community Fresh event. You've got players beginning to feel the effects of replaying TBC for a third time, and if Anniversary eventually moves into Wrath, that'll potentially be another expansion many of us have already experienced. Some players are even looking outside of Blizzard's games altogether, even looking at private servers, and to me, these aren't random events. They're all pointing towards the same thing. The Classic community still loves Classic WoW, but after years of replaying the same versions of the game, more and more players seem to be looking toward the future instead of replaying the past, and I think that's exactly why the conversation around Classic Plus has become louder than ever. I think one moment recently which perfectly captured that feeling is during a recent stream. Joker, he basically alt F4'd out of WoW, canceled his sub, and explained that there simply isn't an official version of WoW that he wants to play right now. Instead, what captured his attention was, something that's against Blizzard TOS, private servers, and a lot of people in the community right now are talking about Project Ascension's new server, Conquest of Azeroth. Now, this video isn't really about Joker, it's about what his comments represent, because I don't think he's the only player feeling that way. Over the past several months, more and more conversations in the Classic community have started revolving around that same exact question. What's next? Players don't suddenly stop loving Classic because they cancel a sub or take a break. Sometimes they simply want a reason to log in again, something they've never experienced before. And ironically, while some players are stepping away from Blizzard's current version of WoW, thousands of others are voluntarily starting over, and I think that's one of the coolest things happening in Classic right now. The Season of Discovery Community Fresh event wasn't organized by Blizzard. The community made it happen. Earlier this week, while I was streaming, the starting zones were packed. Players were everywhere. People grouping for quests, guilds forming, general chat flying by, everyone starting over together again. It reminded me exactly why Fresh has always been one of the most exciting experiences in Classic WoW. The world feels alive, every green item matters, the economy starts from nothing, you actually run into players everywhere you go. That feeling hasn't disappeared. Players still want that experience. They're just creating it themselves while they wait to see what's next from Blizzard. To me, that's one of the clearest signs that players still love Classic. They're just waiting for its next evolution. But I also think the community has highlighted something much bigger, and that's replay fatigue. How many more times can we realistically replay the same content? When looking at Classic WoW overall right now, it's all about replaying content. Era is still vanilla, Hardcore is still vanilla, even the Community Fresh event in Season of Discovery is still replaying through a past version of the game. Now, don't get me wrong, I will always love Classic WoW. I wouldn't be making videos about it if I didn't, but eventually, no matter how much you enjoy something, you naturally start wanting a new adventure. There's only so many times you can level through the same zones, run the same dungeons, farm the same gear, kill the same raid bosses. Eventually, discovery becomes more exciting than familiarity. And I think that's the important distinction. I don't think players are tired of Classic WoW. I just think they're tired of replaying it. Now, going forward, I think that's exactly why so many people are talking about Conquest of Azeroth right now. Look what it's actually offering. 21 completely custom new classes, 70 specializations, a new support role, thousands of new items, completely redesigned creatures with unique strengths and weaknesses, new progression systems, as well as new dungeons and raids. But something that really caught my attention wasn't just the amount of new content, it was some of the systems like immersive gearing and world forged items. Immersive gearing makes it so mobs are more likely to drop the gear that you're actually using, and the world has been redesigned to the point that once you progress into later levels, item drops introduce endgame stats like haste. It goes even further than that. If you're out in the world and see a mob using daggers, that mob has a chance to provide those daggers with the stats your class actually needs. World forged items are hidden throughout the world and act as interactive treasures that you can discover and continue upgrading using a special in-game currency. And whatever people's opinions on private servers are, it's not really the point. The point is that it's introducing completely new, different ways to build your character. Nobody already knows the best build, nobody already knows every item, nobody already has every encounter solved before they even log in. Everything feels new, and I think that's exactly what a lot of classic players have been missing, not because Classic is bad, but because Discovery has always been one of the biggest reasons people fell in love with Classic in the first place. And like I said, I understand that private servers, whatever people's opinions are, do bring up a lot of controversy. However, they are massive parts of the community that are bringing forth new ideas for Classic Plus, and regardless if they are against Blizzard's TOS, it is something to be taken into consideration when it comes to new ideas. And that's why I genuinely believe the demand for Classic Plus has never been higher. BlizzCon is getting closer. People continue speculating about Blizzard's future plans. Content creators are talking about Classic Plus. Players are talking about Classic Plus. Entire communities are debating what Classic Plus should look like. But I think one thing has become very clear, and that's the players aren't just asking for another fresh anymore. They're asking for something genuinely new. And when I say new, I don't just mean turning Black Phantom's Deeps into a raid. I don't just mean revisiting Molten Core again, or slightly reworking items we've already collected for years. Season of Discovery showed that players get excited when Blizzard builds something they've never experienced before. Scarlet Enclave is a great example of that. People wanted to explore it because it was unfamiliar. There were new mechanics, new encounters, new rewards. The feeling of discovery came back. And this is where I think Blizzard has an incredible opportunity. Looking at the overall progression of SoD, the majority of it eventually became older dungeons transformed into raids. And, you know, I'm going to reference a title here, Reforged. To me, that's not what Classic Plus should become. It needs to be a world that still feels like Classic WoW, but one where the majority of new content is unfamiliar and completely original. It's okay if a zone gets revamped. It's okay if a dungeon gets reimagined. It's okay if old quest chains gets expanded. But if old content becomes the primary source of new material, then that's where it starts becoming stale. Old content should complement Classic Plus, not define it. And with BlizzCon right around the corner, I don't think the timing of all of this could be any better. It feels like the community is more ready than ever for something new. So when I look at everything happening right now, I don't see unrelated stories. I see a community pointing in the same direction. Players voluntarily re-rolling for Community Fresh and SoD, players taking breaks from TBC, players returning to Era and even Hardcore, Joker canceling his sub because Blizzard's current version of WoW isn't what he's looking for, players getting excited over projects like Conquest of Azeroth because they offer discovery again. To me, they're all pointing towards that same conclusion. The Classic community isn't tired of Classic WoW. The Classic community is just tired of replaying it, and I honestly believe that's why the demand for Classic Plus has never been stronger, with BlizzCon getting closer. Hopefully, we won't have to wait much longer to find out what Blizzard has planned, but until then, I'm curious of what you all think when Blizzard announces Classic Plus. What do you want to see? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Also, be sure to join my Discord to participate in Classic WoW or just World of Warcraft discussion in general. I also stream on Twitch Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. So come check me out on there to join the chat and just kind of hit me up and chill. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh man, this is insane. There's so fucking many of them. Holy shit, dude. Oh, here they go. Dude, they came out like so fucking fast. Made a big mistake being first in line. Yeah.